right, I'll go ahead and officially call the meeting to order and move to item A4, a roll call of members who are present this evening.
Mr. Allen is absent. Mr. McClellan?
Here.
Mr. Melcher?
Here.
Mr. Roth?
Here.
Mr. Yarger?
Here.
Mr. Wall?
Here.
Mrs. Heim? Here.
All right, we'll move on to item A5. Mr. Trout, are there any revisions of the agenda this evening?
There are not any revisions to the agenda this evening.
Okay, we'll move now to item B1, core values discussion.
What an exciting time for our board to be able to honor our staff, our students, our community for the great things that are happening in our district. And so tonight we're excited it is my privilege to highlight individuals and groups within our district to exemplify Huntington County Community School which perfectly aligns with our core values. On November the 2nd, Alice competed in the 44th Annual Girls State Cross Country Meet at the prestigious Laverne Gibson Championship Cross Country course in Terre Haute, Indiana. Out of the best runners in the state, Alice achieved an outstanding 9th place finish in the women's individual 5K with a 5-minute, 46.7 mile average. I'm not sure I could walk that fast. And finished a time of 17 minutes, 57.2 seconds. This incredible achievement adds to an already stellar year for Alice. Not only has she secured her second top 10 finish in the state championship this year, but she has consistently demonstrated the values of high expectations, high achievement, and accountability, both in competition and in her training. Her drive and commitment inspire not just her teammates, but our entire school community. Congratulations, Alice, on this well-deserved recognition. Awesome job. So proud of you. Our second core value, it's an honor to continue tonight's core value recognition with our second honoree, a remarkable group of individuals who have demonstrated the transformative power of community involvement and support. This evening, we are recognizing District 5 board member, Mr. Gary McClellan, CocoJos campground owners Mike and Tiffany Weaver, and Blessings in a Backpack representatives Chris Johnson, Lisa Pulver, Lisa Southworth, and Helen Williams. This group exemplifies our district's commitment to supporting every student every day. In September, CocoJos Campground hosted its first annual car show, a community-focused event aimed at giving back. Thanks to their coordination and heartfelt efforts, the event raised an incredible $1,002.75. Every penny of the proceeds was donated to Blessings in a Backpack of Huntington County, a vital organization that provides weekend meals to students in need across our district. Mr. McClellan played a key role in the success of this event. As a regular at CocoJos, he facilitated the partnership with Blessings in a Backpack, helping to ensure that the funds raised directly benefited the students and families who need it most. The collaboration and generosity of this group directly impacted the well-being of our students, ensuring they have the nourishment they need to learn, grow, and thrive. Their dedication to Huntington County's children and families embodies the core values of HCCSC. They remind us all that when a community comes together, we can truly make a difference. On behalf of Huntington County Community Schools, thank you for your extraordinary commitment to our students and mission, and for your partnership that will continue to invest in the lives of our students, making for a stronger community. Thank you so very, very much. Congratulations. And Mr. Roth, that concludes our core values for this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Peters. Now we'll move on to item C1. This is the opportunity for public comment. No one signed the purple sheet when they came in, but now would be your opportunity. Should you wish to address the board, if you would please come to the microphone here so it could be picked up with the live stream. And no one having come forward, we'll move on to D1, special presentation, Chief Operations Officer.
At our last work session, we had a pretty extensive discussion about the value of this position in our district, replacing our CFO who left a few months ago. We also discussed in pretty good detail about why a chief operations officer this time instead of chief financial officer. And so I'm just very proud tonight to introduce to you and recommend for your approval Mr. Pat McClellan as the new COO for Huntington County Community Schools. Pat comes to us currently as the high school principal at Huntington North High School. Pat's just done a tremendous job there, and one in which he has proven himself over and over again with his solid leadership. A little bit about Pat. Pat, I have the mic. Now I get to talk about you publicly. I've been waiting for this time. But no, Pat has just been a tremendous leader. He is a Manchester College graduate with a Bachelor of Science, who majored in secondary education with government and economics, U.S. history, world civilization. From Indiana University, Purdue University at Fort Wayne, he obtained his master's in educational administration. And Pat also recently, within the last couple of years, got his superintendent's license, his EDS, from Oakland University. Pat has been with us at Huntington North High School as the principal since 2022. Previous to that, Pat was the principal at Eastbrook High School from 2009 to 2022, and from Prairie Heights High School from 2003 to 2009 with teaching experiences ahead of that. I will tell you that Pat is truly a valuable member of our administrative team, and one in which I'm excited to work alongside him with Jay and Chuck, and believe that Pat will bring a wealth of knowledge, outstanding skills and disposition to this team to help move us forward for years to come. So I'm very proud to recommend to you for your approval Mr. Pat McClellan as the new COO. And once and if you approve that, I got some other items with the COO position then. So I'm looking for your approval of this recommendation this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trout. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding the recommended approval?
I'll make a motion that we approve Pat McClellan as the COO.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion before we vote? All right, hearing none, we will vote on the motion to approve. Mr. McClellan. That's what I was asking.
Yep.
Are the results going to?
Yeah, she's not there.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay.
All right, Pat, do you want to, you got a couple things you want to say, or? Yeah, he's coming.
Thank you, Mr. Trout. Members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to serve in this capacity. I'm looking forward to working alongside Mr. Trout, Mr. Peters, and Mr. Brimberry, and the district to help in whatever way I can. So thank you.
How about a nice round of applause for Mr. McClellan? On the same page, Cindy. Okay. Pat will be meeting with his staff tomorrow morning. Mr. Brimberry will also be there in the morning too. But one of the things I wanted to share with you is, and to go over this again, is this organizational flow chart of how the work is going to be done in our central office moving forward. As you can see, this change is also done not only to support all the operations in our district, but I also recommended this change for you to allow Mr. Peters as the Director of Elementary Ed and Mr. Brimberry as the Director of Secondary Ed to become more involved in the academics day-to-day within our district. It's truly important to me that we impact academics at a higher level with this, and to allow Jay and Chuck to do that work with our admin team and with our staff. I have no doubt that will have another positive impact on our district. The next slide here is to show you those areas that will directly Mr. Brimberry will be responsible for at this point in time. You'll notice that the classified staff areas that Chuck has been responsible for, and also those areas that have been associated with that, move over, and you'll see a slide here momentarily of that of Mr. McClellan. Here is the next slide, thank you, is for Mr. Peters. It's all the elementary buildings that Jay will be directly responsible for, along with preschool, our ever-growing preschool population that we have within our district. Again, it could be easily overlooked of the impact that this move will have on our academics, and this is one of the primary reasons why we're making this move, quite frankly. The next slide here in that, it shows you Mr. McClellan's direct responsibilities within our district. In that, you will see that he will be overseeing and leading the Director of Technology, the Director of Finance, which I have asked for your approval here later on in the meeting, the Director of Food Service, of Maintenance and Custodian, Transportation, and Human Resources, along with our corporation nurses staff. Pat's got a lot to do. This will be a very busy time, but one in which we need. It's important for you to know, when you look across that, you'll see that Jay and Chuck and myself lead a lot of these current departments now, and we will continue to work with these departments with Mr. McClellan this entire second semester into the summer. And so I just wanted you to be able to see what that is. The next slide is here of how, and some of you have asked me this question, of how it relates to the business department. Quite frankly, right now, this is something that's taken an enormous amount of my time, of Mrs. Smith's time, of Mrs. Gray's time, and we have been having discussions about this, but this shows you the organizational flow chart as it relates to the business department that we have been discussing along the way too. So I hope that this gives you the clarification for this. Lastly, and most importantly, Mr. Brimberry and Mr. McClellan will be meeting with the high school staff tomorrow morning to go over this change. At that time, we will also be telling the staff that we will be posting this high school position, principal's position tomorrow, with the hope and the intent of bringing a name to you at the December 16th meeting. If that does not occur, we'll have another option for your consideration at the December 16th meeting, but it's our intention to post this position and to look for a highly qualified candidate to fill in and to become the new principal at Huntington North High School on December 16th meeting. Questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item E1, one-to-one device pilot.
Tonight, we're pleased to welcome Director of Technology, Mike Sumter, who will be presenting on the upcoming device pilot program designed to assist our students with higher performance in our classrooms, starting to...
How is our one-to-one devices affecting our students' achievement? And over a period of time, in working with the administration, leadership team, this last year or two has been really eye-opening to our administrators and to our leadership team. So one of the things that we strategically do, Jay and Chuck and myself, we meet on every Tuesday. And sometimes after those teams meetings, when we're meeting with the principals, some real powerful data comes into us with what the principals are seeing. One of the things that they're seeing is students are staying up till 1, 2, 3 a.m. For an example, tonight before this meeting, I went ahead and did a search on which students are online right now. And shockingly, out of the first 21, there were 7 that were elementary kids. And so here we are about 7:30, and some elementary students are on, which is fine, I guess, they're doing work. But one of the things that we've done is some of the research has shown that if kids are up really late at night, watching YouTube, doing movies, playing video games, and they're only getting a few hours of sleep, that means their performance here in school is going to drop off. We have already students, elementary kids, that are not able to focus, they have discipline issues. Well, if you're not getting proper sleep, you're going to have a problem. So, in moving forward, one of the things that we're going to do starting on December 2nd, we would like to put together a small pilot program where K through 5 devices, starting at 9 p.m. at night to 7 a.m., there's no internet. You literally got to sleep. Or you go get your mom and dad's cell phone and do something then. But we're just hoping that we can help curb this desire to be in YouTube or anything that's beyond normal bedtime hours. The other piece that for the secondary, grades 6 through 12, we're looking at 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Now, the reason we picked 12 a.m. is really because of sports. We have a lot of kids that are bussed all over everywhere for events. We want to give them enough time so that they can get ready for the next day. That particular group is really intriguing because at 5 a.m., you'll see a bunch of kids online doing homework. It's crazy, but it's the truth. And that's really, really intriguing. One of the things that I've had the liberty of being a part of when I was at Concord was that demographic. Those parents would use their student's device as their only device for the family. And that created another type of variable in the mix. So it's really intriguing what happens when some of the students are staying up or the parents have the device or whatever. By turning them off, our goal is during this pilot program, let's see what's going to happen. Let's try to help with the mental health of our kids. And it's really the underlying premise of this pilot. One of the things that we would like to do, starting on the 2nd, December 2nd, that evening is when we turn it on, we are wanting to focus on sleep patterns, some of the mental health, overall academic achievement of those kids, and most importantly, the discipline. I've heard Mr. Brimberry go, no disrespect, go on and on about discipline, discipline, discipline. Same thing with Mr. Peters. How can we curb that? Well, if we have kids that aren't going to bed till 2, 3 a.m. and then they're getting up at 7 and then they're cranky all day, gee, no wonder we're not performing at a high level. So if we can kind of help curb this just a little bit by this pilot program, my goal is to come back sometime in March, April, May, somewhere in there before the end of the school year, and maybe we make this a mandatory policy. Right now, we're going to make it a pilot program. Let's see what we see and work with our administrators. So, any questions?
We're not asking for board action on this as much as an informational piece. Any questions or concerns as we do this pilot program within that?
Are you, the teachers conveying it to the students that, the ones that procrastinate until whatever time,
Yeah.
go home and screw off all night and then
Right.
decide to do homework at 10 o'clock?
That's been one of the biggest complaints we get from the principals, mainly K through 5. No disrespect towards secondary, but K through 5. The principals are being bombarded by a lot of these alerts that go off. So since we implemented a different content filtering system, starting at about 11-ish, principals don't want to get interrupted by that stuff. But invariably, kids are doing some dangerous things at those times. Just a few weeks ago, I can't go into any details, but we've had some elementary kids having email conversations with people they shouldn't have. Well, a few days ago, we turned off the internet for those kids, right, for all the students. And so we're trying to help curb that also. So there's some underlying problems there that we're just now starting to, let's see how we can unfold that onion, or how can we, assist them in the classroom. So yeah, we have gotten a lot of feedback from the teachers, to answer your question.
But are you who's conveying it to the kids? I mean, are you sending home letters?
Yes,
to
my
the
apologies.
parents?
My apologies. We do have a letter that will be sent out via Parent Square tomorrow, probably tomorrow morning-ish, working with Kenny. My apologies.
Yeah, no.
So, yeah.
No, the letter that you have in your board packet will be what will be sent out in Parent Square tomorrow.
Correct.
So you talked about it, but could you expand upon what the change was related to email that you just kind of briefly, could you just kind of go over that a little bit more and explain what
The change in
student email and they can't receive?
Oh, yeah, sure. So one of the problems that we've been having is in working with some of our kids, there's some situations where students start emailing adults outside the corporation, and that's created a real problem. And not in a sense that they can't, we want them to email cleanly, but right now there's a lot of issues that we've been having with students and then some adults trying to take advantage of our young kids. And frankly, we're here to protect our kids. And so for right now, we're turning off that email K through 11, and working with Pat McClellan. There's a few 11th graders that need email, to send for colleges or, grants or whatever they're looking for. And of course, seniors are trying to get into college. So those guys, all seniors will have full email send, receive, but K through 11, we're just not allowing that to happen for right now.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Mike. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, we'll now move to item E2, Statement of Work and Joint Program between Vincennes University and HNHS.
Board, I have Principal Tiffany Drummond is here tonight to discuss this. This was brought to you earlier. Vincennes has made a modest change, and I'll let her go through that for you tonight.
Good evening. This is the same document that you approved in October. The only change is they extended it an additional year so that it'll be good for 2 years. So I see that as a benefit because we won't do this next year, and it locks in that discounted rate for our CT students as well.
So Tiffany, we just approved this 1 year last month, I believe.
Yes.
And so there is truly nothing else different in this agreement other than the second year being added on, correct?
Yep. Just a date change.
So, Board, I wanted you to be aware of that. If for whatever reason they sent us the one for 1 year and we approved it and they turned right around and sent us for the second year. So that's the only change on this document.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding the proposed agreement with Vincennes?
Make a motion that we approve the statement of work and joint program statements for 2024 through 2026 between Vincennes University and Huntington County Community Schools.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any additional questions or comments? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve.
Thank you, Tiffany. Appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, motion passes 6-0. We will now go to E3, girls flag football.
Board, I'm honored tonight to bring Athletic Director Jeremy Markham and Andy Mattis, Senior Manager of Football Development for the Indianapolis Colts, to bring forward a proposal for girls flag football. So thank you for being here tonight, gentlemen.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this over to Andy so that he can give you some basic background information on girls flag football. And so he'll talk about some of what's been going on in the state of Indiana and the partnership with the IHSA and the Indianapolis Colts with this.
And Coach Markham, this is for consideration to begin next school year. Is that on?
Yeah, our intent would be to start this as a club sport in the fall of 2025. It is a fall sport for female athletes, and that would be our intent to do it at that time.
Excellent. Thank you. Andy, thanks for being here tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I did prepare a presentation that I can share with you guys on girls flag football, what the league is doing, what the Colts are doing to help grow this throughout our state.
Give me 2. Give me 3. Why are you here? Good.
So as you can see with that video, there's a lot of excitement around the sport. We've seen a ton of growth over the last 3 years with what we've been able to put into girls flag and the schools that are participating. I'd like to start out with why invest in girls flag football and have a brief video.
My favorite part about flag is throwing a ball and playing with my teammates. Probably being able to work together. Definitely scoring, helping my team score.
The competitiveness.
Probably the friendships that I build.
Being able to play football without being criticized as a girl.
I just love the sport in general. Being able to go out on the field, feel that adrenaline rush through you as you're catching the ball or throwing the ball or pulling somebody's flag on defense. It's always something new.
My favorite part is experiencing the game with my team and being able to make bonds with them and have fun.
Feeling powerful because football is normally called a boys sport, but now it's for all girls, and we can be united, and everybody is very welcoming, and nobody judges you because it's everybody's first time. So it's just fun in a very loving community.
How competitive it is and being able to play football.
My favorite part about flag is meeting new people and going against other teams. Winning. It's winning and having fun.
So as you can see right there, there's a lot of excitement and interest from the girls in our state to play flag football. Those were representatives from our 27 schools that participated this past fall. We were able to bring them out to training camp and have a media day with them as they also packed flag kits to send back to the middle schools that feed to their high schools. So why girls flag football? The opportunities are growing. Flag football growth in general is a huge push from the NFL to continue to grow it. It's one of the fastest growing sports in the country with flag football, and you're seeing a lot of that on the youth level, and a lot of the driver with that participation is female participation. With football, you just naturally think of boys tackle, Friday nights, Saturday with college, Sunday with the NFL, but now there's this opportunity for girls to have their own path through the sport of football and play at an elite level from the youth level all the way to it will be in the 2028 Olympics. There are over 20 schools now collegiately that offer girls flag, so the opportunities are continuing to grow, and as the Colts, we want to bridge that with the high school effort and continue to support high schools that are looking to onboard it. I'll be brief with these next slides. As you can see, this is the landscape of high school girls flag throughout the country. This was as of August 2024. Since then, Pennsylvania has now become a sanctioned state. So we have 13 states in the country that now have this sanctioned as a varsity sport. Collegiately, it's continuing to grow. I would be shocked from my conversations if it's not an emerging sport on the NCAA level in the next 3 to 4 years before the 2028 Olympics. And now my favorite slides, the Colts' commitment to high school girls flag and how we can help you guys onboard this. Our objectives, as we do with all tackle, we want to support the growth of football, but specifically girls flag. We want to increase interest, and then our ultimate goal is to have this as a varsity sanctioned sport in the state of Indiana. The Colts' commitment, I'm not sure if everyone was tuned in to the game yesterday or the broadcaster that was posted afterward, but we announced the Irsay family has graciously committed $1 million to the growth of girls flag over the next few years. A lot of this goes directly to the schools. We want to lower barriers to create this opportunity for the schools, and know that budgets can be a hanging point as well too. So for the next, within that commitment, for the next 75 schools that commit to participating in the fall of 2025, you'll receive a package valued at $10,000 of support. That will be 2 different financial grants to your school. Year 1 will be $5,000, year 2 will be $1,500. That can cover head coach stipends, facility fees, transportation, officials fees, anything you incur with the sport of girls flag football. We will assist with covering jerseys as well. We've worked with Nike and Gear Up to cover 25 tops and 25 bottoms for your team. If there's any hang up with it being Nike, then we can visit a voucher for you guys too to cover those jerseys. And then we'll provide a USA Football equipment kit comes with cones, pylons, everything you need for both a practice and a game perspective. And then each head coach will receive a USA Football coaching membership. So if they've never coached before or new to flag, this has online resources of practice planning, game planning, drills, anything you need as a new head coach. Just a brief landscape of where we're at with the state. We started back in 2022 with a jamboree, 5 different school districts, and over 100 girls showed up to that. We built off that momentum, had 8 teams participating in our pilot league in 2023, and in 2024, this past fall, we had 27 schools participating, with 5 schools in Fort Wayne being a part of that as well. So there are some schools in the area participating in girls flag now. Rules, I won't spend too much time on this unless there's any specific questions. NFHS will unveil their national governing set of rules in the spring of 2025, and we'll be prepared to engage officials, train officials, so that we'll be ready for the fall of 2025. Just going to how we structure in Indiana as well, up until this point, the Colts have been the commissioners of the league. We've scheduled, we've assigned officials, we've rescheduled, we've done all of that. In 2025, with the hopeful growth to 100 schools, that will be put into the schools with a framework of this is the season, this is how many games you're expected to hit, but it will be on the schools to schedule the games, but we'll have a pool of officials as well as contacts that you can reach out to schedule those games. And then these are just our next steps. Right now, would love for you to pull on interest within the community if there's girls that are interested in participating. And then we do have a commitment form that I'll share with Coach Markham. And then we, once that's filled out, we'll get the ball rolling on all of your support as well as we plan for the fall of 2025.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right, would anyone like to make a motion regarding the proposal to add girls flag football?
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposal to add girls flag football for the 25-26 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments before we vote?
So, question, where are you planning on playing? I see the field makeup is different than normal football field, and I didn't know how you were going to readjust that.
Yeah, we've provided porta-fields as well, too. So the field is 100 yards by 40 yards. Roughly, that is from the boundary to the opposite hash, so you can run cones down there. That's how we've done it. We'll provide a packet to all athletic directors and administrators as well on how to set up the field, but you'll receive enough cones through that USA Football equipment kit to do that as well. But we'll also come up with a design for your grounds crew if you guys wish to paint the lines as well.
So at this time, you're looking at the football field?
Yeah, we would look to utilize either the grass practice field as an area as well that could be utilized for practice and or competition, but we would try to play it on the main turf field for any competitions that we would have for sure. So yeah, it's just working through all those schedules. We do know that 5 Fort Wayne community schools did field teams last year. So those would be fairly close opponents. South Bend has some schools as well, and I know there's some talk with other local schools that currently do not have it, but are investigating as we are at this time as well. So I do see it continuing to grow. And they request a minimum number of at least 10 to 25 girls. I did do a survey in the fall, sent it out via email to all of our 9th through 11th grade females. We only had 52 reply, and I know email is not always the best way to do that, but 37 indicated they had an interest in girls flag football of those 52. So I think the interest will be there to get this thing going, and I've got some ideas on coaches and those type of things as well. So I think it could be a really positive thing and another opportunity for some student athletes to participate in something maybe they wouldn't consider. And if we can get enough schools in the state, it will become an emerging sport with the IHSA down the road, just as girls wrestling and boys volleyball has, and then eventually is now sanctioned.
So when you get too many for one team, is your hopes to have a JV and a varsity team?
If we could get with other schools that they would have enough players to do that, maybe we could play an extra quarter or something to accommodate those student athletes if we had large numbers. Yeah, that would be an option.
And sorry to jump in on those last two questions. We are up for voting to be an emerging sport in the spring of 2025. We're very hopeful we'll get deemed as an emerging sport, as well as we will poll all schools on if they wish to make two teams or have some additional competition, so that if there are any schools in your area and you'd like to have more than 25, we'll work around having that opportunity as well.
All right, any additional questions? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve the recommendation.
I appreciate you coming up tonight to share this with you. I'm personally very excited about this opportunity for our girls. And Jeremy, thank you for your willingness to lead this through this too. So this is going to be fun. This will be great for our kids. So thank you.
Yeah, and motion passes 6-0. So thank you. All right, we'll now move on to the consent agenda, F1 through 10.
Yes, and I have a few items I want to discuss with you here at this point in time. The first one is F5, where we have two job descriptions for your consideration. As you saw by the flow chart earlier this evening, we mentioned to you the Director of Finance. This position, what I'll be recommending in the personnel report, is moving our Deputy Treasurer, Tyler Haskell, from the Deputy Treasurer into this position of Director of Finance. When doing this and helping us with this workflow, you will also notice some changes, some minor changes in the Corporation Treasurer job description that will also happen. Moving on to the personnel report, on F6, Mr. Peters, would you like to talk about a retirement that we have there?
Yes, in the personnel report, you will see that Amy Rudolf has submitted her letter of retirement, and so we wish Amy well. She came to the district in 2006 as the principal at Horseman, was there for 5 years until the building was closed to turn into a central office. She's been at Andrews for 19 years, total 35 years. She's looking forward to spending more time with her parents and her two adorable grandchildren. And the neat part about this is she can't wait to come back as a guest teacher and join our substitute rank as a guest teacher. And so we're so pleased. So it's not goodbye. And so we wish her well, and she has served with distinction and was worth noting here this evening in our board meeting.
Also, want to draw your attention in the personnel report to the nurse and clinic assignments. Before I went on leave in June, I was working on these adjustments to complete our contracts for this past year. I did not get back until July, and then school started with a variety of other pieces. I have since been working on this the past month, and so I have those nurse and clinic assignments adjustments for your consideration. Also in there, I want to draw attention to the business administration additional duty stipends that we have. I cannot say thank you, it's enough for this group of professionals that since August have jumped in and helped me out daily, being short-staffed in our business department, actually being down 3 employees, and I am grateful for this team. I'm grateful for what they have done. I also appreciate the support of Mrs. Smith, who has helped me get this as almost as cost neutral as we can, with the departure of our CFO and a couple of other employees out of that department. But I will tell you, without the commitment of this group, we would not have get done what we have gotten done up to this point in time. And so I just want to say thank you for that entire team and for their willingness and support. There has been many, many long hours, additional hours that have been spent, and they have done this quietly behind the scenes, and for that I am truly, truly grateful. You'll notice the appointment of assignments. I've previously mentioned Tyler Haskell with the Director of Finance. Also, a technical change is Rihanna Jennings was our only director, or was our only employee serving in that role who is not a director, and so I have made those changes in there also, and so that is that part there. F7 is the substitute handbook, teacher handbook that we discussed at length at the last work session. I am seeking your approval. There have been no changes since that work session, and so I'm just seeking your approval of that piece. Also, the General County Local Retention Schedule update. Mrs. Gray and Mrs. Hippensteel are a vital part of making sure that we follow all these rules and regulations in these areas. We are working diligently to make sure these are followed, especially as we move to digital and so many of these paper records, so asking your approval for that. Tonight, I'm also recommending for your approval $85,609.44 of donations there this evening. There are 9 of those. The largest one of those is coming Robotics for Autism grant, which we were awarded by the IDOE in excess of $65,300 for our special ed students. We continue to be very aggressive with our grant writing and those possibilities. I don't want to shortchange anyone else who has been so gracious in that, but I do want to do that. And then we have the accounts payable and payroll voucher register. So I'm seeking your permission of all the consent agenda listed F1 through 10.
Right, thank you, Mr. Trout. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda is presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Before we vote, does anyone want to pull out a particular numbered item and vote on it separate from the rest? Okay, before we vote, does anyone have any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve the consent agenda, items F1 through 10. right, motion passes 6-0. We'll now go to G1, financial reports for October 2024.
Good evening, President Roth, Superintendent Trout, members of the board. I bring to you this evening the October 2024 financial statements for review here. And we'll start out, of course, with customary with our education fund. And this you'll see the budget order that was approved at the beginning of 2024 under the green column. Then you'll see the amount for October for the current budget month that we're displaying, and then our year-to-date amount for our education fund. And you'll see over on the right-hand side all our charts that represent these numbers that are on the left. And then right below the charts, you'll see the summary numbers, and you'll see that we're approximately 83.5% through the year. We have 2 more months left of this budget year. These major funds are budgeted from January through December, and you'll see we've received approximately 81% of our revenue. Now, remember, for this revenue, our main revenue that we receive is through our tuition support, our basic grant. And in November, they will shore up our numbers based on the estimates that were provided at the beginning of the year, and then our actual ADM count, average daily membership, as it was finalized in October. Then they adjust those numbers, and for instance, if your district goes down in ADM, of course, then they adjust those numbers backwards and reduce your payment in November. If your district increases in ADM, then you receive that difference shored up in November. And of course, with Huntington, we did increase in our enrollment, and especially based on our projections that we had. So we're pleased to report that. So you'll see that increase in our revenue come when we display our November revenue for the education fund. And then we're right on target with our balance for our fund balance for this fund. And moving on to our next fund, we have our debt service fund, and this one has no activity for October. And a reminder that this fund is received, the revenue is received by property taxes, and those taxes come in, the majority of those taxes come in June and December, and then the payments for those amortization schedules for all their bonds and leases are made also in June and December. So that is why you see no action for the month of October. Next, you'll see our other major fund, our operations fund, and same as our education fund, it has the same information on there. And when you go down to our summaries, you'll see that we're about 55% of our revenue that has been received. And two, just like our debt service fund, this is a property tax fund. So the majority of this revenue comes in June and December. So you'll see that shored up by the end of the year, and we're right on target with our expenditures. And you'll see that about 63, just a little under 64%. So we're well in enough room for our budget compared to our expenditures, and right on target for this fund. Next, you'll see our rainy day fund, and you'll see a little bit spent out of that, and that is the appropriation that was given at the beginning of the year for the main office renovation for the administration office, central office. And you'll see that a little over $22,000 that was spent this month. So we're right on target with those expenditures and that appropriation. If we do have anything that has not been paid by the end of the year, of course, we'll encumber those monies to equal our $1.5 million that maybe might be paid like in 2025, but have already been processed or scheduled to be performed for the central office. So you will see those numbers shore up at our year-end presentation that we do in January and February. And then next, you will see our food service fund. This is the one that's a little different, where this is a fiscal year fund. So this runs July 1st to June 30th. So you'll see those fiscal numbers there for the month, and then for the fiscal year to date. And we also are right on target for this fund, and our food service director and his team has been doing a great job of watching their expenditures and making sure that they balance their expenditures and their revenue each month. And last but not least, you'll see our curriculum materials fund, and this is our old textbook rental fund. So you'll see some information, you'll see some activity in there from when students maybe have lost a book or damaged any kind of equipment or devices. That's the revenue that comes in for that. Of course, we do not charge for regular textbook rental, but if there is damage, we're able to, by law, to charge for those. So you'll see that information in there, and then a little bit of expenditures. A reminder that in January, this fund will roll into our education fund. However, we will split this out for you for the revenue and the expenditures, so we'll be able to track that. We have a new chart of accounts just for the curriculum materials, and make sure that we communicate that and keep that separate in our education fund. And then that is it for the regular materials. I don't know if we were going to go through the comparisons. If not, we don't have to. It's up to you. If you have it on the screen, we can go ahead and go through those. And then this is the other type of financial report that we do. This is the operations fund, and we put this together just to show the trends over, I think it's now 6 years of trends. So the board and the public can see each month how it compares to the years before the current year. So if you go to the second page, I think it is, where we highlight the month that we're reporting, which is October. So you'll see there at the bottom in the green, that's highlighted for the month that we're reporting, the differences between each of the Octobers from year to year, the revenue, the year-to-date revenue, the year-to-date expenditures, and then the cash balances for that. We also have the same format for our education fund. So we do it for our two main funds. So if you go down, Cindy, to that second page for October, you'll see the differences and the comparisons for October of '24 versus the last 5 years. So we're right on target with what we have projected through our cash flow analysis and all that we've presented to the board and done through our budget. So we're right on target with both these funds, along with the historical comparisons that we compared them to. I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have at this time regarding the October financials.
All right, there being no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the October 2024 financial reports.
Make a motion where we approve the October 2024 financial reports as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions now? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve.
Mrs. Smith, thank you. We are continued to be blessed with your supports and your leadership and your help, and I'm grateful for you every day, so thank you. Appreciate you.
We agree with that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, motion passes 6-0. We'll now go to G2, District Insurance Renewal.
It's that time of year where I'm recommending for your approval the enclosed proposal from Mr. Mettler with the insurance. For the upcoming school year, there is a variety of information to you there for your perusal with that. I will tell you, beginning in the winter, spring of '25, we will begin the process of taking this out for an RFP for next fall. So I want to make you aware of that. For the public, we're looking at a 13.7% increase over the year before within that too. And so I'm just recommending your approval for this insurance proposal.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trout. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding the proposed insurance renewal?
Motion to approve the district insurance renewal for 2025 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion before we vote? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve the renewal. Motion passes 6-0. We'll now move to H1, contract with Green for Life.
Board, I'm honored to have Rich Hurdle, Director of Custodians and Maintenance for Huntington County Community Schools here tonight. We have a recommendation for number 1 and number 2, but we'll cover number 1 now for recycling and trash pickup. I believe this is 2025 through 28, correct, Mr. Hurdle? I know that, Board, you have the documents and the pricing and so on, so Rich is here. Number 1 for recommendation, number 2 to answer any questions you might have, if any.
Excuse me. Does anyone have any questions? No. Okay. I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the contract with Green for Life as presented.
Motion to approve Green for Life contract for 2025-28 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion before we vote? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve. All right, motion passes 6-0. Now move on to item H2, new admin office fencing.
Board, for your consideration tonight and approval, new administrative office fencing and fence row cleanup. Mr. Hurdle, could you tell us a little bit about the process, the recommendation, permits, and those sort of things?
Very similar to what we did out here along the stadium. Taking out the old NDOT fence that's fallen apart, cleaning up the fence row, and putting new black fence to match like we did out here at the stadium.
And the recommendation is with Amor, I believe?
Amor and Indiana Fence.
Yeah, very good. Amor and Indiana Fence.
And so we have, just like we did with the football stadium, we have worked with NDOT through this. It's been properly permitted.
Correct.
And all of those pieces. So in case you were asked, we have been through that entire process then.
I believe all that information is in your packet.
Yeah, and it's in your board packet there.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion regarding the proposal for new fencing at the admin office?
Motion to approve the new administration office fencing as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, or discussion?
Clarity, will this come out of the 1.5 from the rating fund, or is this somewhere else?
No, so let's talk about that, Becky, about the payment of that within what we have with that. I want to make sure we clarified that with you this evening with that. So you want to comment on that?
Sure,
just a
this
minute?
would be through our regular operations fund. We have plenty of appropriation and line item for this purchase.
All right, any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve. Motion passes 5-1. We'll now go to H3, naming of new admin office.
Yes. Rich, timelines for that, completion of that, I'm sorry, I was going to ask you that during the questions of the previous, on fencing and cleanup. Do you have a time appropriate, okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Okay. On H3, with the naming of the new administrative office, we have given you a variety of options there for your consideration. Our recommendation for you, because we are reaching the time where this decision helps us move a lot of other processes along, so our recommendation for the new administration office is the Huntington County Community Schools Administrative Center. So that's what we're recommending for your approval.
All right, any questions, comments, or discussion about naming of the new administrative office? All right, does anyone have
I don't
a
have to work
motion?
there, that's y'all, so I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
what you want.
Yeah. Does anyone have a motion they would like to make regarding the recommendation?
Make a motion to approve Huntington County Community Schools Administrative Center as presented for the new name for the building.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions, comments, or discussion now?
So since we took a letter off, I assume that you're working towards,
Yes, we'll bring that to you on December the 16th is our plan to bring all of the branding pieces to you at that time.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve HCCS Administrative Center as the name for the new admin office. All right, motion passes 6-0. We'll now go to H4, Town of Warren Agreement to Purchase Real Estate.
Yes, we've asked Mr. Joe Wiley, school board attorney, to present to you some of the important details of this agreement with the town of Warren. Mr. Wiley.
Thank you. This has been a journey. My earliest note on this was July of 22, when Mr. Trout and Mr. Warpup came to my office, I think, in Huntington, and we started to discuss the option of selling off parcels of the real estate at Salamone School. The map that you see is not the greatest map in the world, I'll admit, but this was prepared by the surveyor, Joe Herendine of Sauer Surveys, Sauer Engineering. You can see obviously where the school is, the track and the grass area. The line that they are proposing, Cindy, move your marker up to the top left of the woods, right there. It goes across the woods, and then down to, there's a waterway. It goes past that into a field that has been farmed, then to the west to where 12th Street intersects, then back up towards the creek, and then kind of parallel with the creek to State Road 5, and then back to a line right there. Now, this is all, the footprint of this has all been cooperatively developed with the town of Warren and on site, Mrs. Kitchen, but also our administration team. We entered into a letter of intent with the town, and we are now at the point that the town of Warren has approved the contract, and it's coming to this board to approve the contract. I need to go through a few points on the contract so we are all on the same page of this. This is a transfer or a sale between Indiana municipal corporations between the town of Warren, between the Huntington County Community School Corporation. That exempts this whole process from other procedures when we have either sold property. It's even on the acquiring of property of appraisals. When it's municipality to municipality, some of the steps are dispensed with, and the reasoning is that it's taxpayers to taxpayers, and so some of the protections, we're trying to protect the taxpayers on both sides. This board passed a resolution in the fall of 22 to declare this as excess property, meaning that it is no longer needed for school purposes. We have been renting the farmland. Colin Suchicki has been farming it and doing a nice job with that, but it wasn't being used for school and educational purposes. As I said, back in July of 22, Marilyn Morrison, town clerk, made contact with, I think, Brian and Mr. Trout, and for the idea of turning the bare ground area into housing. This was received as a win-win for both municipalities. For the town of Warren, housing is a need. Housing's a need in all of Huntington County, but particularly in Warren, in median housing was a great need. For the school corporation, as Mrs. Smith points out to us, our ADM, our count is so important because that's how we're funded. If we can add however many houses in this area, the demographers will tell you a certain percentage of them will have school-age children, and for each child that comes into the corporation, that's about $7,000 into our general fund, correct? More or less. We gave a presentation, I think maybe last spring when Mr. Trout, Mrs. Smith presented to you how if we put this on the open market, yes, we might have received a larger price per acre, but we would lose the control over how we were going to sell this and the restrictions we were going to put on this. The money that will come in through real estate taxes and the attendance for the children more than makes up for any perceived loss of value in outright selling the property. Go to the survey. The survey is in the pro forma stage. It is not finalized yet. Our original letter of intent, and I know that's very, very hard to see, but there are two parcels that are indicated. One is 20.667 acres, and the second one is 34.123 acres. That, our original letter of intent indicated we'd be selling 55 acres to the town of Warren. This survey, the pro forma, is 54.79. So the estimates on where we were going to put the line are pretty close. At that number, the agreed price was $2,500 an acre. That would, if that number holds in the final draft of the survey, that will be a sale price of $136,975. Now, probably more important parts of the contract, and there's timelines regarding once it's approved here as far as because this becomes the effective date, finishing the survey, title insurance, any objections, inspections, and all those types of things. We are selling this as is, where is, meaning that we are not going to be called on to correct any defects. Now, there's no there are no improvements on the land, but even if a tile is discovered to be broken down, we are under no obligation to fix that. The town of Warren is purchasing the property as is. Probably the most important part, I think, from our side of the table is that there is a 3-year restriction from the date of closing for Warren to commence site development work, excavation on all or part of the real estate for developing the same into single-family residential development. If that does not occur within that 3-year period, the school corporation can buy the property back at the same $2,500 per acre. There's language that it is single-family residential, no multifamily residential, nor any other residential purpose. There was negotiation back and forth between the town and the school regarding other possible uses, and this board's intent was clear that this entire conveyance was to be for single-family houses only. Also, each house must have at least 1,200 square feet for a one-story house, no less than 750 square feet for a two-story unit, and must have a two-car garage. There must be a cemented driveway and 20 feet in width. It must be landscaped with a minimum of 10 shrubs, 2 trees, and 1 tree in the front yard. No structures of a temporary character can be on the property. There's to be a concrete public sidewalk that adjoins the houses, and I'm sure at some point would include a sidewalk over to the school. It has to be 5 feet in width. The front elevation may consist of vinyl siding and at least 75 square feet of brick, stone, or similar masonry products. So you can see, I mean, we're trying to have nice houses, but these are not high-end, highest-end houses in Huntington County. They're meant to be family homes. They're meant to be homes that people can raise their kids and send them to school, and we all can benefit from that. There's a provision for this. All has to go through the local Department of Community Development. Cindy, go back to the first map. Currently, this is in 2 parcels that don't match these 2 descriptions. There is one description that's basically the building, the old football field years ago, and part of the woods. And then there's a second 54-acre parcel that was woods and kind of wraps around all the way to the front part of the school there past the Dogwood Villas. So we're creating 2 new parcels out of 2 parcels, but until we complete this process, they don't match up. So that all has to go through Department of Community Development, and they will approve the new survey of selling off the description to the town of Warren. As I said, the next step on the other side of the table is that town of Warren has the right to sell, assign, or transfer the parcels to a third-party developer as long as they are bound by the same restrictions and obligations that have already been cited. So what all of these restrictions that we've put in the contract will follow the sale to the town of Warren. Again, tonight, if approved, we'll set in motion a timeline. I can't give you an exact estimate as when exact closing will occur, but it should be yet this year, I think, or first of the year. One last point that it's a very important point. We put in that from our side that this will not will not be a TIF district. Early on, there was some discussion about having a seat on a TIF district table, but our opinion was that we would not benefit from that, because one of the reasons we want this is to increase the assessed valuation, and if we then TIF the taxes, we're kind of working against ourselves. So, and that survives closing too, and is binding on the town and the developer. So the real estate will not ever become a TIF district. That's broad overview. The next step is for you to approve the contract, excuse me, and then have Mr. McClellan and Mr. Roth to sign it if it's approved, and then it says we'll go from there. Questions?
All right, would anyone like to make a motion regarding the proposed agreement with the town of Warren?
I'll make a motion that we approve the proposed agreement with the town of Warren.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion now before we vote?
Just want to thank Mr. Trout and Mr. Wiley for their continued work on moving this forward. It's, as Mr. Wiley so eloquently put it, it's been a while.
Quick question. Do we know if Salamone will still be able to use the woods for educational purposes?
Yes, when we've been in negotiations with the town of Warren, we've been having those discussions, and we've been reassured that would be the case. I think their intention is to tie it into the trails with the rest of the town, and the benefit to our kids being involved with that, our students being involved with that, and our staff is quite obvious. And so we've received assurances of that. Mm-hmm.
Right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve the agreement.
I just want to say thank you, Joe, for your help through this. It's been invaluable. I'm grateful for your direction in all of this, so thank you.
All right, motion passes 5-0 with one abstention. We'll now go to H5, award of bid for HNHS PA system.
Board and Mr. Trout, Terry Thornsbury was unable to be here tonight, so I am going to read his recommendation. His recommendation is to go with Allen County Builders. It fits under our budget with a total of $763,000, which does include a $25,000 contingency allowance within the bid. Allen County Builders General Contractor will incorporate this project. As you know, they are also in charge of ceiling, lighting, and piping replacement project. And so it'll be weaved into the overall project with expected completion of November of 25. I will tell you we did receive two bids. One was from Acorn Sound Technology. That particular group is not a certified contractor through the Indiana Department of Public Works. They were contacted, they are aware, and they do agree, and so their bid was not allowed. So our recommendation from Mr. Thornsbury and our group is for Allen County Builders, and I know you do have the bid tabs, and we're looking forward. Please note that the current PA will remain on through the entire project until the other is up and running. As soon as it is up and running, then the other will be dismantled.
And then, Chuck, it's also important to say that this goes far beyond just a PA system.
Yeah, super important. One of this particular PA system has an amazing opportunity for school safety. And so as a part of this, and Mr. Trout's leadership on this was appreciated, we have options for communication purposes, lanyards in the future for our teachers that would have automatic communication out with emergency services as needed. I know that many of you pay attention to school safety, and what you're getting is not just a PA system. It is a PA system capable of communication as needed during emergency procedures. So this is not only is our PA struggle here in terms of just basic communication, but this model will allow, as we've done everywhere, to school safety to be a priority. So I'm very excited for this installation for Huntington North. I appreciate Terry, Mike Sumter, Pat McClellan, and Mr. Trout, and as we were cooperatively working on this process. So the bid is under budget, and we're excited for this recommendation for our kids.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brimberry. Would anyone like to make a motion regarding the recommended award of a bid for the PA system?
Motion to approve the bid from Allen County Builders for the PA system at Huntington North High School.
Thank you, Mr. Melcher. Is there a second? Any questions, comments, or discussion from the board? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to approve. All right, motion passes 6-0. We'll now go to I-1, the much-anticipated Volume 34, Number 1, Policy and Administrative Guideline Updates.
I have for the first reading tonight 15 updates for school board policies along with 5 administrative guidelines. I'm not seeking your approval this evening. These are just updates that Mrs. Gray and I have been working on. This is the first of a series of ones coming your way over the next few meetings, and so if you have any questions about any of this, please do not hesitate to let me know as we continue to work through this, but this will make us current in these policies for the upcoming year. So we will bring this back for a second reading and approval at the December 16th board meeting.
All right. We'll now move to J1, items of discussion by board members.
Mr. Roth, I have a couple that I'd just like to share out. I want to do a special recognition to Gary McClellan for 25 years of dedicated service to our elementary basketball program in officiating games with his team of officials. It's so much appreciated. I believe, and Gary, you can correct me if I'm wrong, has never taken any compensation for officiating the games in our district. And what a servanthood attitude and spirit that he has. And I just wanted to recognize those efforts. They are much appreciated. He's done an awesome job, and that's 25 years of dedicated service. And so I wanted to recognize Gary for that. Also, I want to do a special thanks to Matt Melcher. Matt attended every elementary tournament game. He was sitting there at the table collecting admissions. Of course, he was there with his lovely wife. But I so appreciate that servanthood attitude, spirit. He was there, and just want to recognize that and let our public know that our board members are out there being servants as well, and we truly appreciate that effort that they put forth. Just want to recognize them. Thank you.
Yeah. 2 quick things. I'd like to thank Pat McClellan. I know he's still here. How many kids were at the fall formal? 650? Yeah, 650 students were here Saturday night, and a lot of hard work by staff and students. Student council put together a pretty nice event, and it went off without a hitch from everything that I heard. And then for those of you that followed along, congrats to the Huntington North football team. It was pretty fun to go to Lebanon and watch a really dramatic game win down there. And East Noble didn't turn out how we hoped, but it was a really awesome season, fine group of young men and coaches to support them. So congrats on that group.
And Matt, I would add that we're hopeful that Coach Etchbach and his captains might be here for the December 16th meeting to be recognized.
All right, anything else? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.